Now, I'll back up again. I said when I first came to Anchorage, it was a tough town. Prostitution wide open, gambling wide open, bars open 24 hours a day. It was rough. We had 2 radio stations here then. That was before the days of TV. And I bought some time on one of the radio stations in which I began to expose some of the things that the Bible says is wrong, and begin to kind of put the pressure on the city council to begin to do something about some of the social evils that we had. Drunkenness was a common sight on the streets, and it was kind of a mess morally here in this town. Well, I got so hated about it, and said so much, I got shut off of the radio station. I went and bought some time on the other station and continued my attacks against some of the evils and sins that we saw so rampant here in Anchorage and in Alaska. I got shut off of that one, but by that time there was another radio station in town, and I got time on it. And I got shut off of it. I got shut off of every radio station in town back in my day. I was threatened from time to time. I had a telephone call one day, and a man said to me, "There's 2 of us down here, and we're going to shoot you the next time you come downtown." I said, "I tell you what I'll do, I'll make it easy for you. You tell me where you are, and I'll get my gun and come down there, and we'll see who gets shot." And they hung up, and that's the last I heard of that. But I did have a guy come into my office one day with a gun in his hand. Well, I talked him out of his gun, and he left it with me. And that was a nice experience. And then I was down at church one time, in our newest, biggest church, by myself one night. It was late. And so we'd had a break-in down there, and I heard a thump, thump, thump out in the auditorium. And I eased out of my office, eased out in there, and I saw a guy crawling up the steps of the choir loft. And he didn't know I was around. The carpet muffled my footsteps. I walked right up behind him, standing right behind him, and he was on his hands and knees. I said, "Friend, do you have a problem?" He jumped about that high off the floor and ran out a door, and I knew where he was going to come out, so I ran around there, headed him off. He had a .45 automatic in his hand. But he was close enough to me to where I reached out and pushed it away, and I got it just right, and I twisted it a little bit, twisted it out of his hand. So I had the gun, and he had the problem. Anyway, he was a harmless sort of soul, I guess, and didn't seem to be up to any mischief of any kind. I let him go. We had some problems from time to time. I remember I was downtown one time in an office. A guy came in I didn't even know. And he started calling me some dirty names. I found out later that he run a liquor store down on 5th Avenue. And he had heard some of my radio programs. And, well, where I came from, you don't call a guy a dirty name unless you're ready for it. So I lowered the boom on him. And he didn't do very well. And finally, when they pulled me off of it, he started out the door and he said, "I'm going to get you." But you never did get me. I've been threatened from time to time, and there's been a couple of times I had to really defend myself. Well, I've never been afraid, I can honestly say. I've never been afraid of any of those guys or any of those situations. It's just part of the operation up here in the earlier days. It didn't take long, however, for the folks around town to understand that I wasn't afraid. And when they found out they couldn't scare me or frighten me or run me off, they quit trying. And some of them became my good friends. Some of them were saved and became great Christians. So we've had a lot of fun in Alaska in a lot of different ways. We've had a lot of wonderful things happen and a lot of amusing things happen.